before you said you're a diplomat, but several weeks ago you called Pakistan, your neighbor, the epicenter of terrorism.
Well, I did it again today without using the word Pakistan.
Yes, and this doesn't sound very diplomatic, does it?
No, because you're a diplomat doesn't mean you're untruthful. I could use much harsher words. So believe me, considering what has been happening to us, I think epicenter is a very diplomatic word, because this is a country which has attacked the Parliament of India some years ago, which attacked the city of Mumbai, which went after hotels and foreign tourists, which every day sends terrorists across the border.
But of course not as a country.
Well, if you control your sovereign space, which I believe they do, if the terrorist camps operate in broad daylight in cities with recruitment and financing, can you really tell me that the Pakistani state doesn't know what's going on? Especially if they're being trained in military-level combat tactics. So, you know, when we speak about judgments and principles, why don't I hear sharp European condemnation of these practices which have been going on for multiple years?
But still making sure that Europe is not freezing to death in the winter, or just increasing your imports by 5 times?
No. Europe has managed to reduce its imports while doing it in a manner in which it is comfortable for Europe.
Comfortable?
If that,
comfortable,
it's manageable.
It's manageable. Maybe a little bit of an
It's manageable. Now, if at 60,000 euros or whatever is your per capita income, you are so caring about your population. I have a population at $2,000. I also need energy. I'm not in a position to pay high prices. The price of oil has doubled.
Let's talk about the war in Ukraine. As you are well aware, the whole world noticed that India, as a very influential country, has never publicly condemned Russia's assault and invasion into a neighboring country. Why is that so? Can you really be neutral in a war for which obviously one side bears all responsibility?
Well, look, I think in international relations, you have sometimes very complicated situations. And where we are concerned, we have always taken the position that the way out is for the countries concerned to get back to dialogue and to diplomacy.
I'll come to that soon, but is this a complicated situation? Is this really complicated? There's just one big country invading its neighbor.
No, look, I can give you many instances of countries who have violated the sovereignty of another country. You know, if I were to ask where Europe stood on a lot of those, I'm afraid I'll get a long silence. So do understand one thing. At the end of the day, we make judgments in foreign policy based on what we think are our long-term interests and what is good for the world.
Are you reluctant toward Moscow as well, because Russia is India's most important supplier of weapons and military equipment?
And therefore?
Are you reluctant to criticize Moscow?
No, I think, look, we have a relationship with Moscow. We've had a long-term relationship with Moscow. I think it's important to look at that history of the relationship. It was a relationship built in a period when Western democracies used to arm a military dictatorship called Pakistan and deny India defensive weapons. So if we are talking about principles, let's talk a little bit of history out here. So how did the Indian exposure to Russia and previously to Soviet Union get built up? Because the Western democracies, for whatever reason, decided that their natural partner in our part of the world was a military dictatorship.
Would you consider India an ally of Russia?
No, I think India doesn't. We are an independent country. We do not define ourselves or perceive ourselves in alliance terms. That's very much a Western terminology. It's not a term that we use.